Good morning. We're first going to talk about pronoun shifts. For those who don't remember what a pronoun is, it is a word that replaces a proper noun. So instead of saying Miss J's waved at my bus, it would be she waved at my bus. Instead of saying myself, Miss Prater, Miss Crane, Miss Reagans, and Miss Rossi went to the movies, we would say we went to the movies. So you are replacing the proper nouns with a word that makes it a little bit more simple. Now, there are two ways you can have an incorrect shift. You can have an incorrect shift in person. For example, if I drove by the dump, you are not the one smelling. You couldn't smell the trash for miles. The correct version is I drove by the dump and I could smell the trash for miles. We don't change who the subject is about. We make sure that both subjects match. Another example is they went to the city and we had lunch there. That doesn't make sense because they are the ones at the city, not us. The other way we have an incorrect shift is in number, which means instead of a singular like I, you, he, she, or it, we have a plural like we and they. So instead of I drove by the dump and we could smell the trash for miles, no one else is at the dump with me, so we are not smelling anything. Another example is Mr. V and Mr. Morawski took his photo, took our school photo. Mr. V is a singular person and Mr. Morawski are a singular person, but it is the wrong thing. Be their photo. So, if a student has a test in school, they should spend time studying. This is an incorrect shift in number because a student is a singular person, but they is more than one person. So they shouldn't spend time studying. It would be he or she should spend time studying since we do not know the gender of the student. My friends and I went to the park and they played hide and seek and tag. Now, this is an incorrect shift in person. My friends and I versus they. Because we are included in the event, it would be we played tag and hide and go seek. Because you are taking me out of the equation and I want to play. The team changed its uniforms before the game started. It's an incorrect shift in number because its is singular, but a team is more than one person. So, the team changed into their uniforms before the game started. If we stopped texting while driving, you'd have far fewer accidents. We have we and you'd, which means it's incorrect person because we is not including you. Marco and Faith helped his or her mother bake a cake for the party is incorrect in person because Marco and Faith have a singular mother. So it would be helped their mother because that's two people. And then last but not least, someone left their science fair project in the library last week. Someone is one person, but there is many, so it is incorrect person. So go ahead and open up your social studies notebook to this point. And go to page 37. Go ahead and take a few seconds and place the definitions with what you think they are. These words are mummification, pharaoh, vizier, bureaucracy, Ka, and dynasty. Go ahead and pause the video here. The definition for mummification is drying and preparing a body to prevent rotting and decay. A pharaoh is the highest of rulers, thought of as part god. A vizier is a person in charge of a section of bureaucracy. And that section of bureaucracy is an organization of departments with officials in charge and procedures. So it's broken up departments with that have their own people in charge and their own rules is a bureaucracy. Ka is the spirit that makes up the soul. And lastly, a dynasty is a family of rulers who have successfully passed down power. Family of rulers, of course, being a monarchy. So it is a successful line of successful monarchy that has continually passed down through the same family is a dynasty. Go ahead and move the ones you got wrong and put them in the right spot. We are then going to work on our geography. Now, let's read the little side thing. The Kemet was perfect for farming, leading to a surplus, an extended amount, so more than you need, of food and well-fed people. The regular flooding led to accurate recording of the calendar, dates, times, and numbers. The Nile was also perfect for transportation and communication. The Happy, the Egyptian god of the Nile, was praised highly by the people, along with Amun-Re, king of the gods, Isis, the goddess of healing, motherhood, and many other things, and Isis's husband Osiris, the god of the afterworld. The Egyptians had hundreds of gods, including many female gods. So let's look a little bit deeper at this. Think about transportation and communication. What 5 theme of geography is that? I'll pause a little bit and have you guys think. If you guessed it was movement, you'd be right, because it is the physical movement in transportation and the movement of ideas through communication. Now, the idea that they had multiple gods, hundreds of them, including many female gods, is an example of polytheism, the belief in multiple gods. And you'll see in the footnote, Egyptians are responsible for our 365 days a year calendar because their rivers flooded cyclically, which means on a cycle. And they made that cycle into our calendar. We'll zoom over here. Egypt is one of the first river valley civilizations, nestled in the banks of the Nile River, the longest river in the world. The Nile flows north through Africa for over 4,000 miles, which is about the same distance from New York to Alaska. It splits into multiple channels at a delta, which is the plain at the mouth of a river, just before emptying into the Mediterranean Sea. The Nile Delta is called Lower Egypt and the land south is called Upper Egypt. The Nile's annual flooding deposited rich, dark soil on the riverbanks. This land was called Kemet, or Black Land, and the dry desert land was called the Red Land. The Nile River is the only river that flows south to north. That's why this is considered Upper Egypt and this is considered Lower Egypt. So, first we have our Nile River. We're going to make it red. Now, pause for a few seconds, and which do you think of these numbers is the Nile River? The Nile River is number 5, so go ahead and change the color to red. I'll give you a few seconds to do so. Now, we are then going to talk about the Sahara Desert. Now, you might have heard of the Sahara Desert because it is an extremely popular desert. It is number 1 to the left-hand side of the Nile River. So go ahead and make number 1 orange. On the right-hand side at number 6 is the Nubian Desert. The Nubian Desert. You'll notice Egypt was pretty secure with its natural borders and its physical characteristics. Speaking of our 5 themes of geography, that's an example of place, because it had a desert on this side, a desert on this side, water. So, we then have the Red Sea, speaking of water. Number 4 is going to be the Red Sea. And Miss Jace has made a mistake. Why did no one call her out on the fact that Babylon and Sumer were in there? And I'm missing the Med Sea, so go ahead and copy and paste this bad guy into this other body of water. Oops. Because the Med Sea is what's on top. Uh-oh, Miss Jace has made a boo-boo. So we have the Med Sea at the top, the Red Sea to the right, over top the Nubian Desert, and beside the Sahara Desert. Now, we do have Rosetta. Now, the Rosetta stone is the most famous stone in history, depending on your religion. But the Rosetta Stone allowed us to figure out every single ancient language we've been able to figure out. Because on this Rosetta Stone, it was basically like a Google Translate, where it had a sentence in Latin, which we're able to read. It had a sentence in cuneiform. It had a sentence in hieroglyphics, which we will learn is the written language system of the Egyptians, and so much more. And so because we were able to understand one side, we were able to understand all of the sides and pick out different letters and understand different languages. So in the delta, this is the delta where all of the river Nile opens up. into the Mediterranean Sea, we were able to figure out many different ancient languages. Now, last but not least is Giza. Giza is famous because this is where the Sphinx is. The Sphinx and the Great Pyramids. The Sphinx is a mythological creature that is half woman, half lion, and she is a trickster spirit who gives out riddles, such as her most famous is what wakes up on 4 feet, eats lunch on 2 feet, and goes to bed on 3 feet. The answer is a man, as you crawl on 4 feet as a baby, you stand on 2 feet as a middle-aged person or an adult, and then you will walk with a cane as an older person. On top of Giza, you do have the Great Pyramids, which Egypt is most famous for. So, hopefully we got a decent idea about what is happening in Egypt. We'll look at it a little bit later and talk about those mythologies a little bit more.